It's Thursday, August 26th, time for your Barbados Today morning news update. An outbreak of African swine fever in the Dominican Republic has triggered calls for scrutiny of pork products imported in Barbados, declaring that an outbreak here could wipe out the country's pig herds. Chief Executive Officer of the Barbados Agricultural Society, James Paul, urged the tightening of controls on meat imports.
The swine flu is something that we need to avoid at all costs because our herds in Barbados will be decimated as a result of it coming here. In another section of the press, I have already said that we need to ensure that we have strong border controls and we need to do everything possible to make sure that we do not have the swine flu here. It is not something that we want and it's not something that we need. What I think is dangerous though is that you can see that we are bringing in product from countries that hitherto we have never brought them in from, and even in certain products.
While Barbados does not import pork or processed meat from the DR, Paul sounded an alarm on neighboring countries, zeroing in on Jamaica.
I know that Jamaica is just next door to the DR. Jamaica does have a relationship with the DR. And to the extent that we are looking, and Jamaicans are becoming very aggressive in terms of trying to bring in certain products here, I don't know what is the level of border controls as it pertains to products coming in from the DR into Jamaica. And that is how these diseases travel. Because of the openness of borders that have been made as a result of products moving from one country to another, and the fact that there could be some weakness here, that is likely, yes, as a result of lax border controls, it could happen. And that is why sometimes we have to make sure that persons bringing in product at the airport, that they do not have a situation where they bring in product that basically is not from an approved country. All these things can happen, and because as a result of that, that is how that disease can come in. But it is something that is worrisome for us. We have never been in the region before, but now it is in the region. And we have to make sure in respect of Barbados that we protect our industry.
The Democratic Labour Party wants government to come clean on the true state of the National Insurance Scheme. The call from Ryan Walters, who is the DLP's spokesman on entrepreneurship and small business, comes on the heels of Tuesday's announcement by Minister in the Ministry of Economic Affairs and Investment, Marsha Cadell, that the International Monetary Fund will be topping up the Unemployment Benefit Fund of the NIS over the next 3 years to the tune of $180 million. In light of the IMF intervention, Walters says the time had to come for a true picture of the island's social security scheme.
While acknowledging the move to recapitalize the unemployment fund at the NIS over a 3-year period, the Democratic Labour Party is calling once again on the government not to drop the ball on the overall financial health of the entire portfolio of funds within the scheme, namely the Severance Fund, which has severe ramifications for pensions down the road. Based on our information, the last published actuarial review covered the period 2012 to 2014, which now puts 2 reporting periods, 2015 to 2017 and 2018 to 2020, outstanding. The government must be reminded that not only did COVID-19 give a blow to the NAS, but the first lashing the national insurance received was from the intentional write-off of $1 billion owed to the NAS by the government. This was part of the debt restructuring program. This $1 billion write-off was a significant blow to the forecasted performance of the fund and is expected to hit contributors hard at old age. It is therefore top priority that the government move to understand, share and safeguard the overall financial health and future of the National Insurance Scheme.
Police have identified the victim of Wednesday's deadly shooting as 34-year-old Jamar Andre Cobbin of Risk Road, Fitz Village, St. James. Police spokesman Acting Inspector Rodney Innes said officers received a report that Cobbin was shot by a man at his front door. The incident occurred around 10:30 a.m. He was rushed to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital via private motor car, but was pronounced dead on arrival by medical personnel. Investigations into his unnatural death are continuing. Meanwhile, police have issued a bulletin for 26-year-old Romario Antonio Clark, also of Risk Road, who is wanted in connection with a serious matter. In a release, police spokesman Acting Inspector Rodney Innes warned that Clark is considered armed and dangerous and should not be approached if seen. Anyone who knows of his whereabouts is being asked to contact police emergency at 211, Crime Stoppers at 1-800-8477, or any police station.
There's regional and international news after this short break.
Barbados Today, news you can trust.
To developments in the region now, the Trinidad and Tobago government has defended its decision to seek an extension of the state of emergency by another 3 months. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley said the move is necessary to maintain gains made to curb the spread of COVID-19. We get more in this report from TTT News.
The government will discontinue it at the earliest opportunity, once we believe that that will not unnecessarily increase the risk and expose us to something that we don't want to be exposed to.
An assurance from the Prime Minister that the 3-month extension of the state of emergency may not last a total of 90 days. Speaking during debate on the extension in the lower house, Dr. Rowley sought to explain that infection numbers are still at an uncomfortable level and projections are showing that socialization should still be depressed.
The only reason why we are extending or asking for this state of emergency to be extended is so that we as a population, under the terms of the state of emergency as will be described along the way, will discourage the population from socializing at nights between 9 o'clock and 5 o'clock in the morning.
The Prime Minister notes that businesses have been saying that removing the SOE could assist them in nighttime shifts, but he believes curfew passes could easily be arranged for workers.
I am sure that it can be arranged that all such persons can be authorized to go to work even during the curfew. That's easy to organize, and we've done that.
Dr. Rowley adds that this extension is being done for good reason to protect lives first before any other stringent measures have to be taken.
Finally, international countries say there is a high threat of terrorist attack at Kabul airport and have warned their citizens not to travel there, even as Western troops continue to evacuate people ahead of the August 31st deadline. More from Reuters TV.
As Western nations rush to evacuate people from Afghanistan with less than a week until foreign troops leave, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken said on Wednesday there are still about 1,500 U.S. citizens in the country, and the government is working to either contact them or has already given them instructions on how to get to Kabul airports.
Over the past 24 hours, we've been in direct contact with approximately 500 additional Americans and provided specific instructions on how to get to the airport safely. For the remaining roughly 1,000 contacts that we had, who may be Americans seeking to leave Afghanistan, we're aggressively reaching out to them multiple times a day through multiple channels of communication.
Blinken said at a news conference that Washington has so far evacuated 4,500 U.S. citizens and their families, as President Joe Biden's deadline of August 31st to withdraw U.S. troops is fast approaching. Biden's administration has struggled for days to provide specific figures on Americans leaving Afghanistan and how many remain. Blinken cautioned they may change by the hour.
From my perspective,
he also stressed that there was no deadline on the effort to help people who want to leave Afghanistan.
We will use every diplomatic, economic assistance tool at our disposal, working hand in hand with the international community. First and foremost, to ensure that those who want to leave Afghanistan after the 31st are able to do so.
That's news. But for the very latest, visit us at www.barbadostoday.bb. You can also subscribe to our e-paper, email updates, or like us on Facebook, and sign up for our breaking news alerts via WhatsApp. We're also on Izumi Media in bus terminals, as well as screenplay at supermarkets and gas stations near you. And you can also hear us on Mix 96.9 FM and Capital Media HD 99.3 FM.